What's up, NASCAR Authentics fans? David Land here, bringing you wave number 5 of the 2017 Lionel NASCAR Authentics line. We've got a great selection of diecast here, a lot of Chase Elliott stuff, a Kasey Kahne car, which, of course, we know the fate of Kasey Kahne, and another Xfinity Toyota. So, not a bad wave. Let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's take a look at wave number 5 of Lionel's NASCAR Authentics. So the first car we're going to be taking a look at is Jimmie Johnson's 2017 Kobalt Tools number 48 for Hendrick Motorsports. Seeing as I could not find Paul Menard, this is the first 2017 Jimmie Johnson car you will be seeing me review on the channel. I don't know what was going on with that Paul Menard car. That's the reason I couldn't end up doing the Wave 3 video. Just never found Paul Menard. In fact, I was in a Toys R Us today looking for F1 2017, and guess what wave was there, and guess which car was missing. So I don't know what was going on. Let's take a look at this thing. The first Jimmie Johnson car of 2017. And we've lost the magnet already. Well, we'll take a look at that when I've recovered the magnet. And this car is being difficult to get out of the box. But here it is, Jimmie Johnson's Kobalt Tools number 48. So here's Jimmie's number 48 Kobalt Tools car out of the box. I do have to say I prefer this scheme this year over pretty much any Jimmie Johnson car they have done recently. I just think them adding the yellow to the scheme has really helped it out. I think I even suggested it in one of my previous reviews. I was like, hey, this scheme is pretty good, but it could really do with the yellow number, and they ended up doing that. In fact, I think they did that last year. It was like in the middle of the season, maybe after the first couple races, they added the bright fluorescent yellow 48 back to the car, and this season they've added even more yellow, and I think it's really helped the scheme quite a bit. From the perspective of aesthetics. If we can get the car completely into the frame, that would be nice. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is this little magnet hat you get. I think we got one of these in the last wave. I'm not a big fan of this. It looks a bit cheap, to be honest with you, but I guess some people like a hat. I don't know. I would prefer a hat you could actually wear or something. I don't know. It probably wouldn't fit in the package, though. But yeah, I do really like this scheme. If you've ever seen my NASCAR 15 videos, I usually design schemes like this with lots of diagonal lines. So I think design-wise, it's right up my alley of the kind of things that I like in race car livery design. I definitely like the fluorescent yellow. Certainly looks quite nice, especially contrasted with the black and white. This is a pretty sharp scheme. Certainly better than a lot of the Kobalt cars we've gotten recently, or in the recent past, I should say. And I do like the black number on the white background with the predominantly black car. It's a really sharp-looking car. I'm actually kind of surprised how much I like this car. What do you guys think? I know there's a lot of Jimmie Johnson fans out there. Is this car worth picking up? Let me know down in the comments, and let's move on to the next car in the wave. Alright, moving swiftly on, we move on to a driver who's not going to be in this car next year. So getting a lot of Kasey Kahne diecast is a bit redundant at this point, but what's not redundant is the sponsor that is on this car. UniFirst, which I believe is a bank. So pretty interesting to see a bank sponsor as a primary. Of course, you know, there's like the bank sponsors like Fifth Third, which is on Ricky Stenhouse's car, and I believe he won the Talladega race in that scheme. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bank sponsors. I guess it's not all that unique, but it's a nice-looking card back with the teal. That's a color we usually don't see. Ironically, the teal doesn't really match the car. The car's like a, you know, I would say a sea green, not so much a teal. But I guess the teal is kind of the first color in UniFirst, and then the rest of the car is the color of the first. I guess that makes sense. I'm sure there's lots of people commenting on this video first right now. So let's get this car out of its box, take a look at it. Don't know if this is a car that the Gold Series got. It's very possible it's a cancellation. A lot of these schemes, especially from Kasey Kahne, seem to get canceled. But then again, I'm sure I'll be corrected very soon in the comments. Let's take a closer look at Kasey Kahne's UniFirst number 5. So here's the UniFirst car out of its box. It definitely is a nice scheme. I do like it. I think it's definitely nice to have cars with different colors. It definitely will stand out in your collection. There's not a whole lot of green cars. Of course, we got that Hunt Brothers car in the last wave, but this is a different color. I would say the Hunt Brothers car was more of kind of like your typical green, and like I said, this is kind of sea green and teal. Definitely unique color combination to see on a car. Don't know when this scheme ran. That's going to be one of those things that the comment section is going to have to point out. I feel like this may have been a Bristol Spring Race car, but then again, it's possible that it was like some sort of tax company that sponsored him at that race. So I'm not sure. Maybe Dover. I do know that UniFirst is like an East Coast kind of bank. You don't see them much out in the Midwest or out west further. So, it's one of those, interesting companies that just kind of sponsors a car, and it's like, where did that come from? But here's the magnet you get. If you bank at UniFirst, I bet that's kind of cool, like hang your bank statements up with. I don't know. Yeah, it is indeed a magnet, as the box says it is. So let's take a closer look at the UniFirst car. I do this. What the heck is this all about? Oh dear, that is a bit. It looks like it's already been raced. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, that decal is not sticking on the wheel well there. In fact, the decaling really isn't the best, especially around the wheels on this car. Let's check the other side. Oh yeah, look at that. That one's not bad, but it seems like the front wheel wells just seems like it's been hitting the wall a little bit. Of course, that may be par for the course for Kahne. There is some rumors about Kahne next year, like going to like an expanded Xfinity team. I think it's like GMS or something like that. That would be kind of interesting because apparently Hendrick still feels like he owes, some loyalty to Kasey Kahne, so he's going to work an engine deal with another team and get him continuing in the Cup Series. So I guess good for Hendrick Motorsports, keeping Kahne in the series, even if he's not going to be driving the UniFirst number 5 next year. That will be William Byron. So let's move on to the next car in the wave, and I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more Hendrick Motorsports before the end of this wave. It's always great to be over halfway through 2017 and still be getting 2016 cars. I'm a little bit sarcastic on that point, but we've got the Sunoco Rookie of the Year, Chase Elliott. Now this has a Galaxy finish. If you don't know what that is, we'll explain it in just a few minutes. But suffice it to say, it's a bit of a fantasy car. Now, obviously with Dale Jr. going away next year, I think Lionel is kind of banking on Chase Elliott, if it would focus. Thank you. They're kind of banking on Chase Elliott being the next die-cast sweetheart, the guy that sells all the die-cast and moves a lot of stock. I'm not convinced of that. I think Mr. Chase needs to win a little bit more before people really start jumping on the bandwagon. But then again, you think about Dale Jr. and how much he has won in the last few years, and it really hasn't slowed down his die-cast sales. So who knows? Let's get Chase out, take a look at it, because it's not a bad-looking die-cast from just a pure die-cast perspective. Now, obviously, purists are going to, kind of say, well, it's not really an accurate die-cast. And I would agree with that. It's not something generally I would buy, but certainly something that might be nice to review to see if you want to buy it. So let's take a closer look at this Chase Elliott Sunoco Rookie of the Year car. So I certainly hope, and since I'm seeing it on the viewfinder, that the Galaxy finish is coming through on the camera. Oh, as we've got the other Sunoco Rookie of the Year trying to attack Mr. Chase Elliott from behind. We're just going to knock that over. Take 2. Anyway, yeah, I hope the Galaxy finish is coming through on the camera because I will say, again, as a die-cast, it looks nice. But again, I'm a bit of a purist, and I think a lot of other people are a bit of a purist. If you're going to do a Rookie of the Year car, wouldn't you do a Homestead race version or something along those lines? That kind of would be, I don't know, a little bit more interesting, I guess you could say. It's kind of tough. But I mean, at the same time, you know, people defend those tribute haulers that I don't like at all. And they say, well, you know, I like to buy the, you know, I don't need to buy accurate diecast. I like the tribute. So this is definitely a tribute to Chase Elliott's Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, if you're a big Chase Elliott fan, you probably have this. You probably have it in 124 scale. Do they make the Rookie of the Year cars in 124 scale? They're almost positively do, I would guess. But there you go. Here's the trading card that comes with it, which is actually pretty cool. And I'll let you read that. What position did he end up in the points? Does it even say? No. I think he made the chase. I think he pointed in, if I remember correctly. Yes, he qualified for the chase. And 10th in the final standing, so I should have just read the card. But yeah, he did make it out of the first round, I think, and he ended up getting eliminated, I'm pretty sure, because of that Austin Dillon crash at Charlotte. Yeah. So here it is close up. Sun Energy 1. We'll be seeing that later on today. I do prefer this paint scheme to the one they're running now because of the fact that they added a bunch of yellow in places that, like, that was my criticism of this paint scheme when it first showed up. I was like, put more yellow on it. They put more yellow on it, but they put yellow in the wrong places. It just made it look even kind of goopier. Just a little bit weird. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I actually like this. It's tough. This one's tough. I want the Chase Elliott fans in the comments to let me know how you feel about these kind of diecasts. Do you like these? Did you buy it? Are you excited for it? Or are you just like, well, you know, Chase Elliott won the Rookie of the Year, you know, a year ago at this point, you know, almost a full year ago at this point. So, do you want it? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I guess it's an interesting diecast in terms of the fact that, you know, my overall NASCAR Authentics collection, I don't think has a Galaxy finish car in it yet. So, it's okay. It's weird because it actually changes the color too. It lightens it and at the same time kind of dulls it. So, I don't know. It's a weird paint scheme. Also, the NAPA logo is just like running off to the right side of the car. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Let's move on to the next car in the wave, and one that's not quite as sparkly. Triple A! Hey, it's your pal, your Gaston Neves. We're about to review an Austin Dillon car. Hey, he's my Triple A teammate, even though he don't drive for Penske or TMC Hendrick. Okay, that's enough Elio for today. Thank you, Elio, for that wonderful intro. But anyway, we've got Austin Dillon's Triple A car. Yeah, so Joey Logano isn't the only one sponsored by AAA, which is interesting. Did this car race at Fontana? I'm not sure. Don't remember when this car raced. Maybe the magnet will tell us. Oh, wait, no, it won't. Yeah, a 3-car that's red and white and blue. That's a nice change of pace from the black, red, and white that has been associated with the 3-car ever since, Dale Earnhardt. So, let's get this car out of its box. Take a look at Austin Dillon. Cup Series winner, finally, at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Coke 600. Fuel mileage win. Ironically, people hold that against Danica, but they don't hold it against Austin Dillon. Interesting how that works, but anyway, let's take a look at this diecast because actually, it's pretty nice. So I have to admit, as soon as I got this car out of its box, I definitely fell in love to a certain extent. For whatever reason, Lionel seems to have done the red paint really nicely. It's really laid on there thick, and it looks quite nice. The colors that they chose, and now I'm talking about the livery designer, really went with some bright, nice colors. It's actually quite pleasing to look at from an eye perspective, this car. Though I don't know why they went with a white top with the red 3. Maybe that's for spotters purposes. Though I don't know of many other red and blue cars quite in this color that run in NASCAR, regularly. I guess this is kind of a spiritual successor to the Clint Bowyer car, was it? Didn't Clint Bowyer have like a red, white, and blue AAA car at one point? I'm really throwing my knowledge back a ways, but I kind of feel like that's kind of where this scheme has come from. Obviously, it's not the Southern California AAA that usually sponsors Logano and sponsors Elliott over in the IndyCar series. So I don't know. I'm guessing it's the insurance, or maybe it's, I don't know. I have AAA, I think, and I don't even know anything about it. So we've got the number 3 Austin Dillon on the magnet. Obviously, the 3 fans will like that, but it's very not very interesting, to be honest with you. So let's take a look at this diecast, because I think they really did a good job. I think Lionel really nailed this car, at least in the example that I have. The paint, again, very, very thick. The decal application is quite nice. Everything is where it and as it should be on this car, and it just looks really good. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Generally, with these cars that I like, I can't say a whole lot about them because they just look good, and this is just a good-looking diecast. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to peg warm or not. I feel like it's going to, because, I don't think Austin Dillon, oops, I was just singing its praises, and we've got some paint chips. Oh, it's so close, but yet so far. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to peg warm. I don't know if there's really that many hardcore Austin Dillon fans out there, and people who would really want an alternate scheme, especially considering I believe we got Austin Dillon in like the first or second wave from this year. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you want a Austin Dillon scheme that's kind of an alternative. If you need something like that, let me know. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's move on to a car that's got some purple on it. Well, we're getting down to the end of the wave here. We've got Chase Elliott's number 24 Sun Energy 1 car. This is the first time I've gotten to review one of these cars because of the fact that the other one was in a wave where I couldn't find the rest of the cars. So that was unfortunate. But without further ado, we finally get to take a look at the Sun Energy 1 car. And certainly, I can see why this scheme is popular because a lot of people, it's a very nice scheme. It's different. It's not a throwback scheme to anything, and yet it feels fresh and new and nice looking. I have to say, I think they've done a great job with this car, and hopefully this sponsor is around for a while. Let's get Mr. Chase out of the car. Let's get the car out of the box. There's the hat. Oh, the wonderful, wonderful hat. Also, this box smells like perfume or something. No, I guess not. I don't know why I smelled perfume. But anyway, the Sun Energy 1 car. Let's take a look at it. So here is Chase Elliott's Sun Energy 1 car out of its box. Nice looking paint scheme, like I said. The color scheme is quite nice. I think that purple and orange are complementary colors on your old color wheel, going back to 3rd grade art class. So it makes sense that these colors kind of work together. Especially with the black. It actually kind of reminds me of like All Sport. Do you remember All Sport? It's like the less successful cousin of Powerade and Gatorade and whatnot. And it just kind of reminds me of that style, like the 90s kind of basketball-inspired drinks. It just feels like that. It's got that feel, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's a quite nice thing, actually. Quite nostalgic. By the way, the person that owns this company, you may or may not be aware, is a guy by the name of Kenny Habul. And of course, Kenny Habul used to run Xfinity. And there's the hat. There is the hat. And at Lime Rock Park, he still drives race cars. He drives in the IMSA GTD category in a Mercedes, with Tristan Vautier as his co-driver. But, yes, I asked him about it. I was like, hey, Kenny, you going to do any more Xfinity races? He's like, nah, mate, I'm having too much fun there. So Kenny Habul not doing any more NASCAR because he's having too much fun in IMSA. But there's your scoop. There's your David Land on YouTube scoop about Sun Energy One. But good for Kenny Habul, growing a business and sponsoring one of the once Dale Jr. Lee is one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR. So you can say he got in pretty good while the getting was good. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure. But yeah, I do really like the orange rims on this thing. Looks very nice. Very nice. It's again, just a very, very nice scheme. I think Lionel did a pretty good job of representing it. There are no paint chips on this one as far as I can see. Yeah, this is a nice diecast. Just a very nice. Again, we got this last year. I'd be interested to know. I don't know if there's any differences between this one and that one. It's probably down to some contingency sponsors, I would guess, because there's like no contingency sponsors. Also, no name rails. That's probably the difference. That's probably the big difference. In fact, we still don't have any cars with any sort of name rails. And again, we're over halfway through the year. It's a bit unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Let's move on to another car, but a familiar scheme. So, the next to last car we are reviewing is Clint Bowyer's number 14 Mobil 1 car. Of course, Clint Bowyer, the driver that's replacing, or has replaced at this point, it's almost, again, been a year, replaced Tony Stewart at Stewart-Haas Racing. Obviously, they've gone to Fords this year. That's all old information. But what isn't old information is the fact that this scheme is a pretty good one. Actually, that's probably old news as well. Of course, we've gotten a few of these in the past. Certainly, I remember Kevin Harvick. Pretty much the same scheme. I don't remember if we've gotten a Ford version of this in Authentics from Kevin Harvick yet. But if we haven't, that's one I'd actually quite like because it'd be nice to kind of have the set. I know there's a Kurt Busch. I think there's a Kurt Busch one for this year. And there's definitely a Danica Patrick because she usually runs that at Pocono. But yeah, the Mobil 1 schemes always look pretty good. Obviously, folks will remember Jeremy Mayfield, Ryan Newman, other folks like that running these schemes. Sam Hornish Jr. Ran a scheme like this, even though it was much darker blue. But let's get this thing out of its box. Stop rambling on about the past and talk about the present. There's a hat. Oh, I love the hats. Greatest pack-in ever. And the real greatest pack-in ever is a Mobil 1 Ford Fusion for Clint Bowyer. Oh yeah, I like this car quite a bit. It's a beautiful, nice scheme. Very simple, but, as I've said in the past, I like simple. As long as you get the logos right, you get the brand identification out there, that's an effective paint scheme. And this one, pretty effective. Though, looking at it, it is a little bit plain. I feel like it's the number that really throws me off. If they didn't do this kind of old-style font, which I do know, of course, is kind of a tribute to A.J. Foyt, all the Stewart-Haas numbers are. I don't know if it really works these days with the modern paint schemes. Obviously, when, Foyt was racing, you had like two sponsors, you maybe had a contingency that said Winston Cup and then like Gilmore Fuels on there. And that was about it. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to put on the cars. But then again, aren't we kind of getting back to those days? Yeah. So the Mobil 1 hat, it's a hat. Let's get on to the diecast, a nice close-up view. Yes, I guess we'll look at the contingencies. And Mobil 1 is a contingency on a car that Mobil 1 sponsors. In fact, there's so many Mobil 1 decals on this car, it's actually going to make your head spin. Though I will say they did a good job. The Fusion logo is nice and centered. Mobil 1, maybe a little crooked. A little bit of decal not making the full car there. But yeah, I feel like I've reviewed this car 100 times before because we got so many of these Mobil 1 cars from Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick. So there's not a whole lot else I can say about this scheme. Aside from the fact that it's nice to get a Clint Bowyer diecast, he's doing... It's tough because it feels like he's up at the front a lot in these NASCAR races, but he just hasn't been able to score very well, and it's weird. He's having a weird season. I don't know if he's going to make the chase or not. Let me know in the comments if you think Mr. Bowyer is going to win the chase. Boy, wouldn't that be an interesting prediction. There's the hot take of 2017. Clint Bowyer is your 2017 champ. You heard it here first. Let's move on to the last car in the wave. So as we found out earlier, this car really wants to fall over, so I need to hold it to make sure it doesn't. But this is Erik Jones's GameStop Toyota Camry from the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Rookie of the Year car. Of course, Jones did not pull off the championship. That was Suarez. I think Jones came in second, though, so obviously he took the Rookie of the Year honors. Nice car, again, in the Galaxy finish. So it's weird to get a GameStop car, that's for sure. Again, it's funny because I was in a GameStop earlier today as well looking for F1 2017. Guess what store did not have it as well? Guess who had to download the game digitally? But anyway, that's what I get for being an old codger who needs to buy physical copies of media because why? Anyway, let's get the old GameStop 20 out of its box because I think a lot of people are anticipating this car because it's actually the first Erik Jones car we've gotten in Authentics. So there's the card, and we'll be taking a look at that very soon. And the car is out of its box and ready to be reviewed. So there it is, out of its box, Erik Jones' number 20 GameStop car. Of course, he's going to be driving the 20 in the Cup Series next year, replacing Matt Kenseth. Hashtag free Matt. We'll see where free Matt ends up going. Probably nowhere. He's probably getting biffled, if I had to take a wild guess. He's just going to kind of be out of the sport, and then he'll post weird things on Twitter and then end up in some sort of a camera dispute or something like that. Who knows what's going on with Biffle right now? That's a whole nother story. We should be talking about Erik Jones. The last NASCAR race, actually, Jones was pretty good. He almost won over Kyle Busch at Bristol. So it looks like Erik Jones is starting to get there in terms of his race winning potential. I wasn't that high on Erik Jones going into the Cup Series. I kind of feel like he was rushed up a bit. Obviously, again, he was just a rookie in the Xfinity Series, and then they moved him right up to Cup. Generally, I don't advocate for that sort of a thing. Because I'm an old school guy. I think drivers need to develop their skills a little bit before being stuck into the big time. Otherwise, it usually doesn't end well. But it seems like it's going to end well for Mr. Jones. But we'll see how it goes once he gets to Gibbs and whether or not they can actually really start to perform. So Toyota Camry. I think this is the first one I've been able to review out of the Authentics line, as far as I can remember. The rest of the Xfinity cars have been Fords and Chevys. And obviously we did get Suarez's car, but I wasn't able to review that one. I've got it sitting in my trunk somewhere, but no review for that one. Maybe later, if I can ever find the Paul Menard. So it's interesting. Think Geek is another sponsor on this car. Of course, Think Geek is owned by GameStop. Fun fact, if you didn't already know that. And we do get the 21 means 21 contingency, which is quite nice. In fact, do we have that on the Chase Elliott car? No, we don't. He must have been 21 when he won the Rookie of the Year. But it's nice that we've got all accurate contingencies on this car. It's a shame about that. I'm trying to figure out if I like the Galaxy finish on this one more than I like it on the Chase Elliott. And I think I do. But considering it's the first Erik Jones car we've gotten, I kind of wish we had gotten this in a different, in the proper way it's supposed to be, but, whatever. Simply Mac, that's a sponsor of his car in NASCAR Heat Evolution, because I always see that because I'm always coming up behind Erik Jones because it's going so slow. GameStop won't stop. Yeah, whatever. You got the Reese's Pieces Fine Food Ice Cream. Reese's Pieces. Okay, now that David's made all the jokes he wants to make about the sponsor, I don't know. I think this is a nice looking car. Lots of race winner stickers. There's actually quite a bit of detail on this car. You know what? I'm going to give this one a pass. It's getting a thumbs up from David. I think this is a nice car. I would suggest getting this one. Probably the one I'd really say go out and get from the whole wave is this one. So go out and buy you an Erik Jones car because it's a nice looking diecast. So let's get all these cars together, and I'll give some final thoughts on wave number 5 of Lionel's NASCAR Authentics. So there they are, the full wave all together. What do you guys think is your favorite diecast from Wave 5 of Lionel's NASCAR Authentics? Again, I have to give the nod to Erik Jones' GameStop car. Close second is the Sun Energy 1 car. And third, let's give it to the UniFirst car. Though I think there's just a lot of good... It's a decent wave. It's definitely not one of the best waves of Lionel's NASCAR Authentics, but I think it gets the job done, it's tough. I think there's way too many Hendrick cars, to be honest with you. Over half the wave is Hendrick cars. It's too many. It's too many. The Rookie of the Year cars, I think the Jones one is justified. Maybe not so much the Chase Elliott, though the Chase Elliott will probably end up selling better, so who knows. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, you learned something, or you made a purchasing decision based on it, hit the like button. Also, subscribe for more NASCAR content on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching again. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.